Bear down, Windy City. This is not a normal offseason video. This is a detonation. There is an all-pro defensive tackle with 3 Pro Bowls on his resume who just sent a crystal clear message to New York, find me a new home. Paul Schwartz of the New York Post wrote it without sugarcoating it on April 16th. And Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports confirmed it from his end. Dexter Lawrence wants out of the Giants. Period. And the question that is burning through Halas Hall right now is whether Ryan Poles is willing to make that phone call. But here's what nobody is telling you yet, because while the entire city is hypnotized by Lawrence, Poles could be executing in silence the smartest move of this entire draft, a trade back with Arizona that does not just move pick number 25, but potentially triples the second-round capital of these Bears. And if that happens, the complete picture of this roster in October looks entirely different. And just when you thought you had the full map, there are 2 internal situations developing in parallel that are connected to each other in a way that Halas Hall has not publicly confirmed yet. One involves a defensive tackle who had 6 sacks last season and whose contract is in its final year. The other involves a safety out of Toledo that mock drafts have been attaching to the Bears like a sticker for weeks. And when you connect them, you are going to understand exactly where Poles is pointing his master plan to protect Caleb Williams in 2026 and beyond. All of that is in this video. If you are part of the real Bear Nation and you trust the Ryan Poles process, drop the like right now and hit subscribe. The monsters of the Midway do not wait. Let's go. Dexter Lawrence, 3-time Pro Bowler, 28 years old, 300 pounds of pure muscle with a motor that never stops. And he just told the New York Giants, I'm done, and this isn't a negotiating game, fam. That window is closed. Paul Schwartz of the New York Post said it straight on April 16th. If Dexter Lawrence had his wish, he would never put on a Giants uniform again. He wants out, period. And Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports confirmed it from his side, too. Lawrence wants out of New York after contract talks went absolutely nowhere. The Giants aren't willing to pay him top market value coming off the worst statistical season of his career, a half sack in 17 games last year, and Lawrence, for his part, has already shut that door. Now here comes the question that has every Bears fan's heart pounding. Should Chicago get involved? Listen to me, because this is more complicated than it looks. On one hand, Dexter Lawrence at 28 is still a force on the interior. His impact on the run game and his ability to consistently collapse the pocket go way beyond the half sack everybody keeps quoting. Remember when this defense had that suffocating interior presence? Now imagine a defensive line with Lawrence as the anchor, with Ben Johnson dialing up pressures from the outside. That is terrifying in the best possible way. But here is the real problem, and this isn't pessimism, this is math. Jonathan Jones says the Giants want at least a first-round pick to move him, and the Bears are sitting at 25 in this draft. Poles already showed where his ceiling is when he walked away from the Max Crosby talks the moment the Raiders asked for 2 first-rounders. Now, Lawrence wouldn't cost that much, but Jones believes New York could chase a package similar to what the Jets got for Quinnen Williams, a first and a second from Dallas. That would be the 25th plus the 34th or the 56th. And for these Bears, that is too much blood. And we're not done yet. The Bears have less than $220,000 available in cap space for 2026. $220,000, that doesn't cover Lawrence's gas money. His current cap hit is almost $26.9 million. To fit him in, you'd need to do major surgery on this roster, cutting or restructuring valuable players just to make the numbers work. And on top of that, his next contract is probably going to be north of $30 million per year for him to even consider signing. Look, I could be wrong, but this smells more like a situation the Bears are monitoring from a distance than one where Ryan Poles is already dialing up the Giants' war room, and there is a real tactical reason for that. This draft class is loaded with interior defensive linemen. The Bears have 4 D linemen in their top 30 visits. The difference between what you get at 25 in draft capital plus a rookie contract versus what it would cost to land Lawrence in picks and real money is enormous. A Caden McDonald from Ohio State or an Antonio Thompson from Washington don't cost you a first-rounder plus $30 million a year. But at the same time, Dexter Lawrence wants out. And if the price drops, if the Giants panic before the draft and the cost becomes something reasonable like a second-rounder plus an additional pick, then this conversation changes completely because at 28, Lawrence is still a disruptor. And this defense needs anchors on the interior. So the honest answer is this: the Bears should be at the table, not paying any price, but at the table. Because if Poles sleeps on this and Lawrence ends up in Minnesota or Detroit, we are going to remember this week for a very long time. Okay, fam, let's talk about what Ryan Poles might be quietly cooking while everyone's distracted with Dexter Lawrence. The Arizona Cardinals, according to Tony Pauline of Essentially Sports, want to move up to the bottom of round one to take Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. And Cardinals general manager Monty Ossenfort is desperate enough to move picks and climb all the way up to where the Bears are sitting, pick number 25. Now think about it from Poles' perspective. The Bears have a massive gap in their picks between round 4 and round 7. They have 25, 2 second-rounders, a third, a fourth, and 2 sevenths. But that gap in the middle is a real problem if you want genuine roster depth. And there is an elegant solution sitting right in front of them. Sell 25 to Arizona, move up in the 3rd round, and add a pick in the process. The scenario that's been floated goes like this. The Bears receive picks 34, 65, and 143 from Arizona in exchange for 25 and 89. Chicago drops 9 spots in the 1st round, gives up their 3rd round pick, but gets an additional 2nd rounder and jumps 40 spots up in the 3rd. The end result is 3 2nd round picks and a dramatically improved 3rd round position. And why does this make sense in this specific draft? Because the talent gap between pick 25 and pick 34 in this class is minimal. There is no player in the 25 range who is so clearly superior to the 34 range that it's worth sacrificing all that capital. And if the Bears move back with 3 second-round picks, they can attack with volume exactly where most analysts agree the real quality lies: edge rushers, interior defenders, players at positions of need who can come in and compete immediately. Poles has done this before multiple times, and last year he gave us Colston Loveland at 10, Luther Burden in the 2nd round, and Kyle Monangai in the 7th. That man knows what he's doing with picks. If Ossenfort is desperate for Simpson, and everything suggests he is because his seat is heating up after 3 underwhelming seasons in Arizona, then Poles could squeeze that deal, not just the package that's been mentioned, but maybe Arizona's 4th rounder instead of a 5th, which would fill exactly the gap the Bears currently have in their board. This would be the kind of quiet, intelligent, strategic move that Poles has made his signature as GM of the Windy City's team. Not the move that wins the headlines on draft day. The move that wins the draft in October when you've got 3 second-round rookies making plays and winning games. And there are 2 more stories developing in parallel that are more connected than they might seem. First, Gervon Dexter Sr., 6 sacks last year, career high, 43 pressures according to PFF, final year of his rookie contract, and the Bears have brought 4 defensive linemen in for top 30 visits, including Caden McDonald from Ohio State, Dominique Orange from Iowa State, and Ontario Thompson from Washington. Each one of them can play inside. Coincidence? Ryan Poles doesn't do coincidences. Dexter isn't a bad player, but his run-stopping numbers dropped hard last year. His missed tackle rate jumped from 8% to 13.7%. His run-stop rate fell from 6.4 to 4.4. And for a DT looking for a 4-year, $54 million contract, those numbers make noise in the Hullas Hall war room, especially when Over the Cap values him at $8.3 million. I'm not saying they cut him or trade him, but if the Bears take McDonald or Thompson in this draft, Dexter would have to fight for his spot and his extension at the same time. That is real pressure. And then there's Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety out of Toledo. 4 years at a mid-major program, projected as a late 1st-round pick, and Tankathon's mock draft has had him pinned to the Bears for weeks. In his last college season, 77 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and a pick 6. The only interception return for a touchdown in his entire college career. The case here is simple. The Bears just signed Kobe Bryant for 3 years, but they only have 4 safeties on the roster right now. Jalen Jones is the only one coming back with real experience. McNeil-Warren would give this defense long-term stability at a position that was a glaring weakness last season, and he would learn the pro game directly from Bryant from day one. He's not the sexy name in this draft, but he is exactly the type of player Poles has shown he values. Complete, battle-tested with real production and a hunger to prove that the size of your program does not define the size of your game. This is what makes being a Bears fan right now so absolutely addictive. We are 1 week from the draft with an all-pro trade rumor spinning, a GM who can work magic with picks, and real needs that can be solved with smart, calculated moves. This is not the franchise that used to lose 12 games and ask for patience. This is the franchise that won the NFC North last year and is building to stay there. If you don't have the channel on notifications, man, right now is the time. Because next week is going to explode. Drop your comment below. Do you trade for Dexter Lawrence at any price, or do you trust polls to build it through the draft? Because I have my take, and I am dying to read yours. Bear down, Chicago. Da Bears.